What's going on, everybody? MSD here, back with another video on Marvel Contest of Champions. We recently got some Grandmaster's Gauntlet keys as Alliance War compensation, I say with air quotes. Not exactly sure why that came with Alliance War compensation, but regardless, we got some more Gauntlet keys, which means Grandmaster's Gauntlet is back on the menu. And I decided to have a little fun with my first run back on the main account, and I wanted to bring Kate Bishop to see how she would fare. And she did well. She actually handled, I believe I have 5 fights in this little showcase, and they're not the easiest fights in the Gauntlet. You know, they all require their own counters. So she actually handles herself quite well. So I'm impressed with her range in Gauntlet. Now, I think she can do Gauntlet Korg. I will eventually go back and try that. I think it's possible. You just need White Magneto. But aside from that, she does quite a few fights. She probably could have done more fights than I showed here. I believe she can do Terrax. I definitely did MODOK with her, but I just didn't record it. So there's definitely more fights that she can do. But the fights that I have recorded here, they're all difficult fights. I mean, Spider-Ham is notorious for being a very challenging fight just because of the nodes he has. Debuff immunity and the defensive node really makes him just a bear to deal with. And Kate is handling this fight very well. I'm playing around all of his, wacky combos, and I do get clipped here eventually. I'm not sure at what point, but I do eventually get hit. But regardless of that, she handles herself very well. We're healing from the willpower because of the taunt after he throws his special one. And yeah, I'm just nailing these perfect releases, getting that passive cold snap so he can't evade, so I can actually push him back to his wall, preventing him from using that dash back evade that he has that would trigger a Porker Popper, because cold snap is stopping the evade. And every time I counter his special attack with either a heavy or just a basic attack, I am pausing the cold snap for 5 seconds. So it's really having a lot of uptime, or it's really keeping uptime on this fight, which is something you need because there's a lot of just wasted time. And there's exactly where I got hit, because I was trying to throw a special and then I didn't hit the button. So yeah, and then not sure what happened here. He didn't punish me. I probably would have survived the combo because I had enough health, but yeah, that was just an interesting chain of events. So we use the relic here to get the striker. Of course, he's immune to debuff, so there's no energy vulnerability debuff being placed. But all we need is the cold snap, and all we really need is one. As you can see, the damage is high. I mean, that's I want to say that's 6,000 damage per second. I can't exactly see because the screen I'm watching the playback on is small, but I believe one cold snap was dealing around 6,000 damage per second. So that was a 3-minute Spider-Ham fight. Of course, class advantage. Really solid work from Kate Bishop. So next up, we have the 2 notorious evaders, aside from the Spider-Ham at the beginning. On the third path, it starts off with a Nightcrawler and a Spider-Gwen. So these 2 champs, notorious for being annoying. You really need either an evade counter or somebody who deals enough damage by just playing the parry heavy game, at least for Nightcrawler. For Spider-Gwen, you ideally want somebody that can bypass the evade, because you can't stun her because of one eye open. She reflects all the damage that you deal to her during a stun, unless you're using somebody like Namor or Gambit or Omega Red, who will bypass that. But even then, it's just better to bring an evade counter for Spider-Gwen specifically. And Kate, well, she brings that to the table. Not only does she have the class advantage, but she's also bringing the evade counter to the table with the cold snap, and her specials have true accuracy, so they cannot be evaded. And that's another reason why she's fantastic for MODOK. And I might go back and record some of the fights that I didn't record, or that I forgot to record initially. Like go back and get MODOK and maybe get Korg as well, because she's able to handle those fights with relative ease. I mean, especially MODOK, because all you need to do is use your riposte to get the passive stun, so you don't have to worry about the disorient, and your specials have true accuracy, so you can't auto-block them, and you want to ideally use your special one to ramp up, and you get a 50% attack increase on that node specifically when you use your special one. I think it's Specialist 1 or something like that. So she does very well against MODOK. But as you can see, we're not even 100 hits in. We're fully ramped up, basically. I missed the perfect release on the initial caltrops from the special 2, but it's totally fine. All we really need is for them to be applied. The heavy attack damage, that's just a bonus. The dashing back and dashing forward, that's what happens the most with the opponent. So that's all you really need. So when it comes to the caltrops, the perfect release isn't necessary. It's very nice, though, you know, in certain matchups where you can take advantage of heavy countering, and even if you can heavy counter and then counter with your own heavy so you can knock them into the corner, that'd be great. So I got stunned here, and I considered backing out, like doing a reset, but I decided to tough it through, and it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. It was the right call. I messed up this first special one because I'm a goofy ball. I'm a goofball, a goofy ball. That was an interesting one. Yeah, this is what happens when you don't prepare a script and you just go off the top of the dome. Yeah, that's what happens. But regardless, I kept the cold snap because I set it as the pre-fight. So I'm just building my way back up to another special one to get the cold snap on her for real this time. I even messed up the perfect release, but it didn't matter because it was going to get her block. It was hitting her block anyway. You know, if there was the special 2, I still would have gone for the perfect release because that, I believe, applies through block. So you can actually use that to your advantage sometimes. Interesting to think about using the perfect release to just hit their block, you know, reduce the amount of hits you have to deal. Yeah, something to consider for potential content down the line. But yeah, we're fully ramped up now. Just a little hiccup at the beginning, but we've got our 2 cold snaps up. I don't even know if I bother to go for the caltrops because it just doesn't matter. We're dealing so much damage from the cold snap that it's really irrelevant to build up anything further. We're dealing, you know, over 12,000 damage a second against the Spider-Gwen, and she's dead. And I think I just let her die on 69 hits because, you know, I gotta do it for the boys. Alright, so we're rounding off the video here. Last 2 fights. We have the Apocalypse on the final lane. Now, this is not an ideal fight for Kate Bishop. One of the reasons you just saw at the beginning is because APOC can turn off your riposte counterattack. And he's also immune to stun while striking, so you don't even get the passive stun from landing the counterattack, and he's preventing the counterattack with his dormant evade that carries over for the entire fight, which you can't remove in any way. So I'm really just playing the game of hitting his block and trying to bait heavies so I can knock him down in the corner, keep the cold snap up. That's really what matters. I don't believe I go for any of the caltrops here because it's just irrelevant. He's going to go bleed immune. It would be okay to go for it against APOC because it's instant bleeds, and the amount of time it would take for him to go fully immune to that would be quite a while. So I don't believe I go for it here, but I might. Yeah, I don't remember. I did this run a few days ago, so you'll have to forgive my memory here. I may or may not go for it. I don't believe I do, but I'd love to prove myself wrong watching this on the playback. I'm going for the 60% dex on the special one. It's just safer. Dex the first part, block the second part, dex the third part. It's just the way to go when it comes to fighting Apocalypse. It's very safe. And yeah, like I said, just trying to heavy counter the... Or not heavy counter, excuse me. Just trying to counter the specials with my basic attack so I can pause all of the cold snaps for an extended period of time. Also hitting block pauses. So that's a really nice feature from her Awaken ability. Hitting block pauses. We got a nice heavy counter here. Baited the heavy in the corner while he was below a bar of power. That was really, really necessary to keep those cold snaps up, because I was at least going to lose one if he didn't throw that heavy. So I'm glad I got the pause and I was able to land the heavy to refresh the cold snap. So now I believe I go for the special 3 here. Yep, that's exactly what I do. I didn't go for the caltrops. I just went special 3 to increase my base damage a little bit. And now it's just a game of keeping the cold snaps up for as long as possible and, you know, trying to survive, because APOC's specials deal a lot of damage. You know, if I'm not baiting the special 2, I'm not going for the full dex. It's just a little too risky, especially with this high caliber of an Apocalypse. It's not really worth going for the full dex on the special 1 unless it's absolutely necessary. Yeah, I dash back here, so I force him to block. I throw the relic. I try to get the initial cold snap refreshed, but I keep one, and then I just place another one right here, and he's gone, I think, before he even lands this special. Yeah, so I dex the first part. I avoid some block damage there, and Kate just taking care of business, you know, as per usual. All right, the last fight here, we have the Void with Power Shield and long distance relationship. This is a difficult Void. Not everybody can take this fight. It's actually quite tricky. It's one of the most restrictive fights in the Gauntlet, just because of how aggressive you have to play and how much damage you have to deal in such a short amount of time. But Kate Bishop, with her passive Cold Snap being amplified by the Power Shield, she takes this fight like it's absolutely nothing. So yeah, this fight's going to end relatively soon here, so I'm going to do the outro now. Thank you all so much for watching. I have some more Gauntlet content with Omega Sentinel that I will be releasing on the channel in the coming days. I do want to make sure I have some content as a buffer for when the Brutal DLX Challenge comes out, because I want to record some content on that. Seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. So expect some more Gauntlet content, probably either later this week or early into next week. And yeah, Kate Bishop Showcase. I hope you all enjoyed. Please remember to like, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.